All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me back here. And I hope you're having a good Sunday afternoon. So we have made it to the last three chapters in John. And so today we're going to do chapters 19, 20, 21. I am going to back up and talk about 18 a little bit because I think last week I wrote something down. It was really for 19, but it was for 18, and my notes were just a little all over the place. But I will back up a little bit. So I just introduced myself. You are on Chara Harris Online. I have this Facebook page and I have a YouTube channel, and I'm Chara. And so I thank you so much for being here with me. And on this page, my hope is that you grow in your faith. And I like to learn the word, and so I like to share what I'm learning. And so my hope is just that you're encouraged and that you grow in your faith on this page or either on my YouTube channel. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and make sure I'm live on Facebook. Yes, I am. Perfect. All right. So last week I did chapters 16, 17, 18. And again, just to remind everybody, or if you're just now joining at the end of John, that I'm not doing like a deep study. I'm just sharing what jumped out at me as I was reading the Gospel of John, and I hope that encourages you to read it and kind of maybe write down or note what are you learning or what's jumping out at you as well in the Gospel of John. So last week I did 16, 17, 18, and when I came to 18, I had some notes down there, but the notes were all for 19. So I was like, did I not write down anything for 18? So what happened was I wrote down some for 18, but when I went to put the Bible verse, when I was studying for 19, I wrote it up there. So anyway, so it just kind of got off. So I want to back up and go over 18. So this video might be a little longer than my usual videos because then we'll talk about 4. So on 18, I think I mentioned what I said. What I wrote down. I wrote down Jesus of Nazareth in 18. And now I'm going to go back and actually share with you the verses as to why I chose that. So in 18, we have a lot. Let's see. So 17, we had Jesus as the intercessor. He's praying for himself, he prays for his disciples, and he prays for us as believers. And so that means he's even thinking about us as believers that's in the future. And that really makes me think about that. It's kind of mind-blowing to me that he's thinking about us in the future, and he's already praying for us. So in 18 is where we have the betrayal. This is where we have Judas gives him the kiss and turns him over to the authorities, right? So I put down for John 18, I'm referencing verses 5 through 8. And I say this is because Jesus asked, whom are you seeking? So he asked who they're looking for. These are the troops and officers from the chief priests and the Pharisees. And they answer him, Jesus of Nazareth. And then he says to them, I am he. And Judas, who betrayed him, also stood with them. Now when he said to them, I am he, they drew back and fell to the ground. Then he asked them again, whom are you seeking? And they say again, Jesus of Nazareth. So they have to say it twice. And then Jesus answered, I have told you that I am he. Therefore, if you seek me, let these things go their way. So he was like, let's get on with it. But I don't know. I guess because they kept asking, Jesus of Nazareth, wanted to make sure they had the right person, the right Jesus. Maybe that was a name that was popular back then. Like we have people that have the same name now. And they said it twice. And so that's what I wrote for 18 as one thing that stuck out. There was a lot of things that stuck out, but I wanted to just choose one for the video. So I was like, I'm going to choose one. And so that's what I wrote down. But last week I had written down verses for 19, so I just kind of got myself all messed up. But those are the verses where I wrote Jesus of Nazareth down for 18. So they take him on. He goes before the high priest. This is still in 18. We got Peter denies him. Jesus is questioned by the high priest. Then Peter denies him twice more, and then he goes to Pilate's court. And at the end of 18 is where we have the people saying that they wanted Barabbas set free and not Jesus. And Barabbas was a robber. It's like he was a real criminal. And they'd rather have him set free than Jesus, and never hurt anybody, but he was speaking truth. And that's a whole nother teaching right there. I could go on, so I'm just going to stop. But he was speaking truth. They wanted him going to be crucified and set the guy that is like a criminal robbing stuff free. So that's the end of 18. So then we get to 19, And we have the soldiers mocking him. This is when they put the crown of thorns on his head and they bring him to Pilate. And so for 19, I wrote down not guilty, because on more than one occasion, Pilate, I hope I'm saying the name right, says that he doesn't find any fault in him. And it was almost kind of like he was confused. Like, why do y'all want this guy to go? Why do you want him to be crucified? Like, why do you want him to be executed? You know, what's going on here? So I wrote down not guilty. And that actually has implications to Jesus being the Passover lamb. So if you really study the Passover and the lamb, and you can see connections. I've actually watched an awesome video, and I think I'm gonna share it on this page. I like to watch this one guy on YouTube for Bible studies, and he goes through, like, he has like 24 points or maybe 25 points of how Jesus is the Passover lamb. Like, he's our Passover lamb, and so it's why he gets the name Lamb of God. And so this is actually one of those points when Pilate sits there and says he's not guilty. It means he's without blemish, he's without sin. It's actually a bigger thing than just him not being guilty in a sense of being persecuted here. So and that can be a whole other story, but I'm gonna share that video because it is very, very good. If someone else can teach it better and what I've learned from it, I'm going to share it. So for this, I wrote down not guilty, and we're going to look at John 19. We're going to look at verse 4. So this is after they put the crown of thorns on him, and they put a purple robe on him, and they said, "Hail, King of the Jews!" and they struck him with their hands. So these soldiers are mocking him. So Pilate then went out again and said to them, "Behold, I am bringing out to you that you may know that I find no fault in him." So he says he finds no fault in him. Then he might have said it in 18 too, because he does go to Pilate's court then, and I had to back up and read that. But I know in 19 he said it twice, find no fault in him. And if we keep reading, we've got Pilate's decision. So then Jesus came out wearing the crown of thorns and a purple robe, and Pilate said to them, "Behold the man." Therefore, when the chief priests and officers saw him, they cried out, saying, "Crucify him, crucify him." Pilate said to them, "You take him and crucify him, for I find no fault in him." So again, he's saying he didn't find any fault in him. And then that's when the Jews are saying, "We have our law, and according to our law, he ought to die because he made himself the Son of Man." And then all of that comes out. But that really stuck out to me that he said it twice. But I'm gonna back up and read 18 again, because I think at the end of 18 he also says it once in there as well. So that's my big takeaway from 19. And so we'll move on to 20. Let's see. Got my ribbon on here. So on 20, my takeaway, it's the most obvious. I wrote down the resurrection, and I think I wrote that twice because I also wrote it for chapter 11, because Jesus says he's the resurrection. And then we have in 20 that he actually does what he says, that he actually, after 3 days on the cross, he actually is resurrected, right? And I should have wrote it down, another one, but I love, let me read these verses and then I'll tell you another verse that I really like for this. So 20, I'm in chapter 20, verse 2. I'm going to start with 2. And let's see. Yeah, so we've got Mary Magdalene. Let me back up to 1 and I'll read 1 and 2 so you can hear it. So now the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb early while it was still dark and saw that the stone had been taken away from the tomb. Then she ran and came to Simon Peter and to the other disciple whom Jesus loved, and said to them, "They have taken away the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they have laid him." So she's the first one to see that Jesus was gone. I don't think with anybody that it really registered that he was resurrected. They were saying that they thought someone stole his body and took it away and all of that. So if we come on down to verses 15, I'm actually going to back up to 13. So Mary Magdalene is outside the tomb weeping, right? She's crying. And she sees 2 angels in white sitting at the head. Then they say to her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" And she said to them, "Because they have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him." So I'm going from 15 to 18 now. So now when she had said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but did not know it was Jesus. So she saw him, but she didn't know it was him. And he asked her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you seeking?" And she, supposing him to be a gardener, said to him, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away." And then Jesus says to her, "Mary." And that's when she turned and said to him, Rabboni, which means teacher. So then she realized it's him. And then that's when Jesus says, "Do not cling to me, for I have not yet ascended to my Father. But go to my brethren and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, and to my God and your God." So Mary Magdalene went and told the disciples what she had seen and what the Lord had spoken. Now, I know in Mark, there's, let's see, in the Gospel of Mark at the end, I really like it when the women are at the tomb again. And I'm going to see if I can find it. If y'all bear with me here. Sometimes I don't even think about other references until I'm already like on live. So it's like I don't even have all this stuff written down already, which I probably should. Let's see. Let's see if I can find it in Mark. Oh man, it'll take me a while. I may have to mention it in my next video. But there's, I think it's in Mark and not Luke, but there's a verse where the women are at the tomb, Mary Magdalene is there again, and the angels are asking her, they say, "Why are you seeking the living among the dead?" And I don't know why I like that verse, but I just love it. It's like it just puts everything in perspective. Like, he told you he was going to rise, and so why are you looking for him here? Why are you looking for the living among the dead? And I just really like that verse. I want to say it's in Mark, but I'll have to go and find it again. So for our last chapter of John, so we're on 21, we did 18, 19, 20, 21 today because I backed up to 18. So on 21, we go back to 21. For John 21, I wrote down Redeemer/Restorer because there's some beautiful passage of scripture of how Jesus redeemed Peter, right? So Peter denied him 3 times. And when Peter realized that Jesus had like foretold that, he breaks down and starts crying. And that's when he realized, like, you know, Jesus said I was going to do this and I actually did it. And he's crying and everything, right? And Peter and them, they go on back to fishing. It's like he's like, I'm going to go back to my job and, you know, back to what I usually do because, you know, he's defeated. It was just like how we would feel. Like, I messed up, not once, but 3 times I messed up. And Jesus knew I was going to mess up. So I might as well just go on back to my fishing job, right? So we have Jesus comes to the disciples while they're out there fishing. And again, he tells them to cast their net on a certain side of the boat. And they have this whole load of fish. It's super heavy to haul in. But then we get to where Jesus is talking to Peter. And he asked Peter if he loves him. And he asked him 3 times. And I used to be really confused about this. I was like, why do they keep asking if he loves them? You know, like just on the surface level, like just seem kind of like, why are you asking somebody to love you 3 times? Like, what do you want them to say? What do you expect them to say? But after reading it again and hearing a teaching on it, I realized Jesus was trying to build Peter back up. He was saying, look, if you love me, like you love me, you know, before I went to the cross and all of that, you still love me, then here's what I want you to do. It's like he was giving him his directions. Like he still trusted him to carry out the gospel, even though he had failed, right? He failed 3 times, not just once, 3 times, and like close together. So I know Peter was just like, okay, I'm done. But here's Jesus asking him if he loves me. And then he said, feed my lambs. Like, I still want you to go do work for me. And he's still putting him in charge. Like, remember, it was Peter that was the one when Jesus asked, who do you say I am? Who do they say I am? And it was Peter was the one that said, you know, you are the Son of God. You're the Messiah. And it's Peter. He's the one that says, I'm going to build my church and give you the keys. And I'm paraphrasing real bad. You have to go back and find it. But it's Peter what he gives that charge to, right? And so then he goes to the cross and he dies, and in his darkest hour, Peter denies him 3 times. I mean, you can imagine how Peter felt. He's probably like, I'm done. Like, when he needed me the most, I turned my back on him. I'm done. But here he is still giving Peter his charge, right? He's saying, you love me, feed my lambs. And then he asks if you love me again, and he tells me to tend my sheep. And then he loves me again, and he tells him to feed my sheep. So he's still trusting Peter to deliver the gospel, to feed people, and tend them, and give them the truth. He still trusted them even after he failed. And so when I realized what that was, I was like, that is beautiful, because that's how we feel. We feel like once we mess up, we're like, okay, God's mad at us and he's done for me, and I'm done. And it's happened to me times where I've done something and I'm just like, okay, that was stupid. I shouldn't have done that, or I should be doing this and not that. And I go to God and he's so forgiving, and it's like he gives me another idea to do this, or he tells me he loves me, and I'm just like, it's the same thing. It's like I'm thinking we're done, I'm messed up, and it happens. So I wrote down Redeemer and I wrote /Restore. Like he restored Peter back to like, look, this is the charge I gave you way back here. I still want you to do it after all this that has happened. So that's what I wrote for chapter 21, the last chapter in John. All right. So I hope you have enjoyed, I wouldn't say, I guess it's a teaching. I guess it's a short teaching on the Gospel of John, or walk through, or a study on John, or go through John, whatever you want to call it. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed preparing for it. And it's so funny how I'll write verses down and write things down that I'm going to share, and then I get on the live and I start thinking about, but there's this verse that connects to, and I try to go find it. So that's just going to charge me to be better at knowing where things are in the Bible. It's like I got to learn where stuff is, so that then I can turn and be like, well, back here, this connects to this and all of that. But I love learning it, and I love the word, so I'm going to be sharing it more. I really like coming on here and sharing it. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Stick around. I'm still going to do more videos. I'm still going to go live next Sunday at 4:30. Not sure what the topic will be yet, because I have a list of topics that I want to study and work on and share. So I don't know what the topic will be yet, but I'll still be here. But we're done with John. And so I hope you enjoyed this. Like the video, share it, comment. Definitely like my page. And I have a YouTube channel too that I share these also on the YouTube channel. So if you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, you can do that as well. I will say, if you've subscribed to my YouTube channel, I will think if I do any more hair videos, I think that's where I'm going to put them, on the YouTube channel, and maybe not this page. I'm not sure. I might keep this page to just my faith building and stuff like that, but I'm not sure. I may pop up a hair video on here at some point. But anyway, so I hope you enjoyed it again, and have a great rest of your Sunday. Let me see. I want to check, make sure I didn't have any comments on there. But I don't. So have a great rest of your Sunday, and I will see you next week at the same time. All right. Bye, y'all.